Yes, so good afternoon, Louis. It's great to have you here. It will be great if you can just start off with a quick introduction of yourself and what you do at CommScope.
Yeah, sure, Adele. So my name is Louis White, and I'm the Vice President for Enterprise Infrastructure for the Europe region for CommScope. And we work with customers to kind of keep them connected in buildings and data centers. And that's what I do.
Great. Yeah. Yes. So if you can also give a brief overview of CommScope's business here in the region.
Yeah, sure. So we are we're all across the geography, Adele. Yeah. So we're all across the European geography, and we're a leader in connectivity, right the way across layer one. Yeah. So in the building wiring space, in wireless, both 5G, 4G, 5G, plus Wi-Fi. It's quite an exciting time for us because we're in an unusual global environment.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has suddenly realised the criticality of being able to connect. Yeah. So this year has been very, very busy. Our customers have had to adapt real quick to new models of working. Working from home,
mm-hmm.
consuming content in different ways, maybe learning from home, and that's given us a lot of opportunities to solve customers' problems.
Great. So thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, as you had said, obviously people are more adapting to the hybrid way of working. A lot of educational institutions are implementing e-learning models. So in that sense, many are realizing the importance of connectivity. So how is CommScope supporting the needs of enterprises today in that space?
Yeah, sure. So we're supporting them in multiple ways. Yeah. So let's start off inside the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Inside the building, there's still an amount of the workforce in the offices and in the building space. Yeah. The density of users is not necessarily as high as it was for the time being, which means that customers have to be able to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In terms of use of that space, they have to be connected both in terms of their cellular devices and also Wi-Fi. And then outside of the building, we need to make sure that the technology on either end of the connection is also able to connect and cope with providing the same quality of service to that person from the office that they have when they're at home. Yeah. So we've been bringing technologies to market that enabling that. Yeah. I mean, we were the first to market with a Wi-Fi 6 access point, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi 6, it's about high speed and performance, but one of the big differences between Wi-Fi 5 and 6 is Wi-Fi 6 is better able to cope with changes in demand, different density of users. A building that one day has 100 people in may have 5 people in the following week if there is a lockdown, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our technology is enabling people to be a lot more flexible. They're also enabling them to really have great insight and ability to manage sites remotely. Yeah. So let me give you a bit more background to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about intelligent buildings for like 20 years. Yeah. And buildings have been becoming more intelligent. Yeah. Progressively over time. Things like environmental controls, things like occupancy, space occupancy management and things like that. It's moving from nice to have
mm-hmm.
to absolute necessity. Yeah. Building owners they need to know who's in the space and what space they're using. Are they using appropriate distancing? Yeah. They need to understand whether a building that's got nobody in it is being heated to the optimum level. All of these insights, they depend upon technology, they depend upon devices that connect. They connect somehow to the internet through infrastructure and ultimately to a data center somewhere. So we're providing the passive infrastructure,
mm-hmm.
enables these devices to connect, and we're also providing active equipment as well, the networking portfolio of CommScope that allows these networks to operate.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. So as you had mentioned, obviously intelligent buildings are, the solutions around them are now becoming more of a necessity. So in that sense, a lot of, industries are being impacted by artificial intelligence. So how has how is that specifically, the specific trend impacting the networking solutions in general?
Sure. So it impacts the network in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, artificial intelligence, it's all about harnessing that data. How can the organization harness and really make use of mining that information and acting upon it? To do that effectively, it requires very low latency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you have a device that's, a device that's out somewhere remotely, let's just say it's a small building that's unmanned and it's monitoring, an airport outstation. Yeah. It's checking runways, for example, and there's no one in that building. We need to get that data in real time. If there's something trending, like the conditions on a runway, for example, are not looking good, we need that to be able to access that information really quick. So we need to be able to get that information quickly and process it quickly. And what we're seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been for some time and it's accelerating, is to achieve that, you push the compute closer. So you take the computation out of what we would call a traditional data center and we push it to the edge. Yeah. So we're seeing the rise of edge data centers, edge computing, to enable that low latency to happen locally. Now, what that means is data centers are changing in terms of architecture. You're seeing more smaller data centers, that need to be connected. But also it has an implication for what people would call a traditional data center, the central data center, because all this information, whilst it can be processed locally and the information acted upon needs to be stored, a lot of it requires more deeper analysis. So it needs to be taken back to a more central location for deeper analysis, maybe a location that's more cost effective. So it has impact on storage, on servers, upon security. How is that information transported and maintained?
Mm-hmm.
It has a real profound impact on the network. Now, the great thing for someone like CommScope is that we have solutions that are specifically for the very biggest data centers. So we work very extensively in the hyperscale arena, which is all about, large scale, multiple fast connections. Equally, we have high performance, high density solutions that can be deployed in the tiniest of sites. So for us, it's a good opportunity for us to leverage the whole of our portfolio to help those customers.
Great, thank you so much for that, Louis. You had mentioned, Wi-Fi 6 earlier as one of the, the latest networking solutions out there. Another big one that's, becoming popular recently is 5G, of course. So how should network operators and network infrastructure firms like yourselves, collaborate to further develop the 5G ecosystem?
Sure. So 5G is, as you say, it's a very popular topic,
Mm-hmm.
for good reason. But for good reason. And personally, and from a CommScope perspective, we see 5G and Wi-Fi as being very symbiotic.
Mm-hmm.
These are technologies that enable and augment each other. And in many respects, the growth of 5G is driving the growth of Wi-Fi, and equally, Wi-Fi is driving on the demand for 5G. And let me explain what I mean by that. So if you are if you're a user in a building and you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you're using Wi-Fi and using apps and you're downloading content, you have a certain expectation of that service.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk outside of the building, in the absence of Wi-Fi, you expect that experience to be maintained. And 5G is going to play a major part in that. 10 times faster than anything we've had before.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be able to enable that experience in the absence of Wi-Fi. Equally, 5G, because it's going to be so prevalent, and potentially more pervasive than any other cellular generation before, it's going to mean that people expect to have an on-demand, 24/7 ubiquitous connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that even when they go out of the range of 5G, or if they're in a building that doesn't have coverage, and I'll get onto that in a second, they're going to expect there to be seamless handover to Wi-Fi. And that's where pervasive Wi-Fi solutions, Wi-Fi 6 that has the the ability to support higher speeds and capacity, that's also going to be expected by building users to be everywhere. Yeah. Now, 5G itself, you know, we talk about the network operator, and I think the term you used was the network operators. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about 5G. The enterprise itself is becoming very aware of 5G. Yeah. And they're not only looking to the network operators, they're also taking responsibility themselves to ensure that they are investing in building coverage and capacity solutions. Yeah. So CommScope has technologies that are used in the outdoor environment, in the network. Yeah. So we heavily support network operators with technologies that enable 5G. Equally, we work directly with enterprises for them to deploy systems in their buildings and inside their indoor environments to enable them to take full advantage of 5G wherever they are in the building. You know, so it's a really, really exciting time to see Wi-Fi and 5G coming together.
Yes, definitely. So I'm down to my last question. So if you can just give a brief background on what the market can expect from CommScope in the coming months, and specifically for Big C, what can they expect from you guys at the show?
Well, I think that we're in a period of massive change for the way that people work, the way that people interact with their environment, the way they interact with technology. And I think what you can expect from CommScope is that we will continue, and even more so, leverage our presence in every area of the communications channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, we're experts in working seamlessly from wired infrastructure to wireless to macro cellular in hyperscale data centers. And what that does, that gives us unique insight into the interdependencies. Yeah. So if we get customers coming to us and to our partners with certain challenges, we have immediate kind of access to reference points from elsewhere in the network, yeah, where people have experienced similar challenges and how they've solved them using our technologies or using combinations of our technologies. And that's going to be the key. Moving forward, what you can expect from CommScope is we're going to be solving problems using combinations of our technologies. Yeah, and that's going to be a real key thread you'll see in the event.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, Louis.
Thanks so much. Take care.